Hello, friends. Welcome to Born to Be All of Me, the podcast. My name is Amber Sousa. I am your host, and I am beyond thrilled, a little giddy, a little nervous to welcome the incredible Kate Northrup. I was telling Kate before I hit record, I'm a little starstruck. I've been watching Kate and listening to Kate and just following her for a while. So to have her be here with me is a little surreal. But I want to jump in and I would love to read your bio and then just jump into a conversation around how you help people, but women oftentimes, just step into their greatest sense of power, and their relationship with money is a big one. So let's go ahead and dive in with your bio. Kate Northrup, as an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and mother, Kate Northrup supports ambitious people to light up the world without burning themselves out. Kate teaches how to heal your relationship with money, time, and work. She's the author of the bestsellers Money, a Love Story and Do Less, the creator of the Do Less Planner, and the host of the top-ranking podcast, Plenty. Her work has been featured by the New York Times, Oprah Daily, The Today Show, Glamour, Harvard Business Review, and more. She lives with her husband/business partner and 2 daughters in Miami. I feel like that just barely scratches the surface of how incredible and impactful you are. I was telling you before, my podcast, my book is about being all of who we were born to be, to really be able to embody our greatest potential. And you have been a source of tremendous inspiration to me, because my relationship with money, I'm still on this path of healing and really becoming more empowered. And I know that for me and for so many women, so many people, that we have this desire, we have this vision, right? We see what we're here for, and yet these limiting beliefs or just generational trauma or all the things, right? They stand in the way. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your story. I know that as healers and as teachers, we always teach the thing that we have, been challenged with and have been able to get to the other side of. So if you would just share a little bit about your story and how you came to feel like you have a love story with money.
Yeah. So I was raised by 2 people who have really, really different approaches to money. My dad is very traditional and more rooted in scarcity. And my mom is very out there and much more connected to abundance energy, but at the time when I was being raised was less connected to actual numbers. And so having both of these perspectives early on gave me the beautiful gift of realizing that there is no one truth when it comes to money. And a lot of it is just perception. And we have choices about how we relate to money. And I got myself into a lot of credit card debt in my early 20s. And because I was kind of more in that realm of the spiritual idea of act as if you have what you want. I was a student of the law of attraction, and it was like, think abundantly, act abundantly. But what I didn't realize was acting as if you have what you want without the foundational actual stewardship of your resources will lead to overspending. And that also abundance is taking really good care of what you have and honoring what you have by actually looking at your numbers. And so I got myself into all this credit card debt. I was a chronic financial avoider. I had creditors calling me. I didn't know how much I actually owed. I remember watching this movie called Confessions of a Shopaholic. And while I didn't have like a house full of designer clothes or anything, I felt like a little bit of resonance with that. And I started to try to like figure it out and get disciplined and get mature. And every financial expert I followed, I felt bad about myself when I listened to them. I felt like a screw up. And I had an Ivy League degree. I was like, I'm smart enough to figure this out. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, listen, if you can do fourth grade math, like you can figure out money. The math part is not actually hard. And I just knew there was something else going on. And I went about creating my own curriculum because I was like, I got to figure this out. But what's out there is not working for me.
Mhm.
I need it to feel fun. I need it to feel feminine. I need it to feel loving. I need it to feel kind. And so I created my own financial recovery program and I put myself on it. And within 6 months, I had paid off all of my credit card debt. I had tripled my income over the next year and I had doubled my savings. I went from making $34,000 a year to $125,000 a year or so. And I was in my late 20s at the time. It wasn't because I didn't increase my income because I got a new job. I didn't have a windfall. There was no inheritance. I didn't suddenly marry somebody rich. Like none of those things happened. They're wonderful if they do. That just wasn't my story.
Right.
And so there were a few major shifts that I made that changed everything. And then many years later, the additional part of my story is that I had a situation where through incidents after incidents, there was a 5-year period of time where my husband, who's also my business partner, kept getting sick or injured. He got really, really sick 2 times and got hit by a car and then broke his, it's just like thing after thing after thing, sick baby, blah, blah, blah. And I just like it felt like our life, the rug just kept getting pulled out from underneath. And I just had this feeling of like, if I could just make more money, then I would feel safe. And more specifically, if my husband could just take over the finances, then everything would be okay. So I was really stuck in this, like, I can't feel safe or relaxed until my husband is well. And I kept putting my well-being essentially in his hands in a situation that I had absolutely no control over. And that in certain ways, he also didn't have a lot of control over. And so through that, there was like a bunch of other steps and I'm happy to share them. But ultimately I realized if I keep waiting to feel financially secure until my external world is perfect, I am going to be waiting for the rest of my life. And if I am waiting to feel relaxed until everything in my external world is settled and perfect, I will literally never feel relaxed. And as a mom of 2 young kids, my doctor, we did my blood work and my doctor came back to me and said, basically your gas and your brakes are broken, according to my hormone panel. And he was like, if you don't change something, you're going to get really sick. And at the time, my husband was really sick. And I was like, okay, this is very
Don't
real.
have time for that.
We can't have 2 of us go down. And so I really had to shift a whole other, like it was a massive additional up level a decade later. I did a dramatic shift in how I was relating to money. And we can get into that, but that involved more of the embodiment work that I'm sure is resonant with what you do.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, there's so many things I want to say. First of all, I'm like, I know that I can't wait to share this with everybody who will listen to it. And also, I kind of feel like it's a gift for me personally to have this conversation with you on just a very personal level. It deeply, deeply resonates with me. In fact, I was just having a conversation with a group of gals that I'm in a WhatsApp group and we talk every day. And we were talking about how, you mentioned the law of attraction, and there's nothing wrong with that. And also, I can resonate with really like depending on that to be the thing. Like, I'm going to choose a better feeling thought. That's what I need to do. And then when the results don't happen in the way that I think, hope, want them to happen, I think I'm failing somehow, or I'm not doing it right, or I haven't held my frequency for long enough, right? And I was literally just having this conversation like, okay, I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I have to kind of take a step back and look at the big picture and choose what parts of the spiritual, teachings like the law of attraction, like that makes sense to me, and also to pull in other things like what you're talking about, right? And I've also been an avoider. Like, it's just going to be fine. It's just going to work out. I'm just going to focus on alignment and it's going to work out. And I'm going to get a phone call one day and it's going to be like, hey, guess what? We're depositing $1,000 into your account today. And for the rest, it's like, no, things need to get real. And also, I'm divorced, so I'm single. And so, you had your like back up against the wall kind of moment. I have kind of this back up against the wall moment where it's like, okay, let's get real. Let's get honest. Let's call in the support troops, right? And take the steps we need to take. So, yeah, what are some tangible, like, what do I do to start to shift into a more relaxed place where I'm not constantly on edge? I've heard you say, when I heard your podcast interview, I can't remember who it was with, but you were talking about, maybe it was Kathy Heller had you on, and you were talking about the capacity with which you can receive is equivalent to how relaxed your nervous system is. You talk a
Yeah,
lot about your nervous system, and I was like, oh my
I
God,
do. We're going to
please,
talk about it
please,
today.
please talk to me about this. Talk to me about the nervous system. Yes.
Yeah. So as it relates to money specifically, our nervous system has a thermostat setting essentially for how relaxed we can feel. And if we were raised in an environment where money was not associated with relaxation,
Mhm.
which certainly in my household, money was not associated with relaxation.
Right.
Money was associated with stress and pressure and scarcity.
Yeah.
And so know that our nervous system imprints neural pathways based on the way it felt in the environment in which we were raised, not based on the facts and not based on the words, based on the way it felt. So just think about, what did it feel like? What was the general vibe around money when you were growing up? So that's your nervous system thermostat as it relates to money. Now, based on our nervous system thermostat, just like the thermostat in your home, if you set it to 72, like, it will keep coming back to 72. Gets a little colder, it heats up. Gets a little hotter, it cools down.
Right.
Our nervous system is the same. It has a thermostat. And so if you have a set point of financial stress and pressure, which certainly I did, no amount of money that I made relieved the stress and pressure. I kept thinking, well, an extra 6 figures or an extra 50K or an extra, like, certainly there's going to be a moment in which I make enough money. Like, I was just chasing the idea that at some point there would be an extra amount of money after the next launch, after the next book advance, after the next whatever. and then I will feel relaxed. But actually, our nervous system is set to come back to the exact same thermostat setting, regardless of external circumstances.
Wow.
We will unconsciously find a way to return to financial stress and pressure and anxiety if that's what our nervous system is used to. Why is this? Because our whole survival wiring, our whole survival brain, and our survival nervous system is wired so that anything unusual, anything that we've never experienced before gets flagged as a threat. And so our nervous system does not want us to experience anything that we've never experienced before, which means if I desire financial relaxation, my nervous system says no. It's like,
Right.
no,
We're
that's
comfortable
not
here
familiar.
being stressed out.
We're not doing that. What
Yeah.
feels like home is feeling stressed.
Yeah.
So we're going to stay with that. So what do we do about the fact that according to our nervous system, basically all of our goals and desires are registering as unsafe? We change the thermostat setting. And how do we do that? Well, we expand what we are experiencing up until the point where we feel discomfort, resistance. Shows up all sorts of ways. Like resistance will show up in overwhelm, negative thinking, numbing behaviors, self-sabotaging behaviors. Like all these things are resistance. Being uncoachable, suddenly deciding that your coach or your teacher is stupid and annoying and you have to quit the program. And, like we do so many different things, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm at this conference that's going to change my life, but I don't like the upholstery. So I'm going to not go to the session. So all these things show up. And when that happens, when we're in resistance, that's when we know, oh, my nervous system just feels unsafe because it's up at the edge of my capacity. So that's the time when we learn to signal safety so that our body then gets the message, oh, there's enough resources here. I have enough energetic reserve. It actually literally increases your energy reserve, your capacity. I have enough capacity to grow a new neural pattern, to actually rewire, because rewiring our patterning in our brain, in our entire nervous system that goes through our whole body, it's actually energetically expensive, which is why our nervous system doesn't want to do it. It's why it brings us back to the thermostat setting, because the thermostat setting is the wiring we already have. New wiring is expensive.
Right.
And so in our daily lives, we have a lot of stress, right? We're rushing. We have this, and then you have the media. We're on the internet. Like life can be like a lot.
Yeah.
When we have already a full stress bucket, a full threat bucket, we cannot learn new things, change our thinking, change our behavior, change our habits. We cannot, because our nervous system is like, I have no energetic reserves.
Right.
My threat bucket is full. But if we do things on a daily basis that actually dump the threat bucket, dump the stress bucket, and then we do it in an acute scenario where it's like, I'm having a difficult conversation. And then afterwards, we go do something that soothes our nervous system and metabolizes that stress. We actually then change our thermostat where it's like, oh, now I can change my wiring. Now I can incorporate a new realm of experience, a new level of pleasure, a new level of safety, a new level of relaxation. But it takes time. It's not like that happens today. But over time, nervous system work, and of course, we can get into some specific practices if you want, but over time, what's really important to know about the nervous system, which is so cool, it's just like compounding interest. The more you do it, the more you have, and it actually builds on itself. Just like when you put $100 in and you earn 5% interest, now you're earning interest on $105, which is really good. When we do work on our nervous system, you do that work and then you have a new threshold. You have a new floor. It's not like brushing your teeth where you have to do the same amount of brushing your teeth every day until you die. It's not compounding. But nervous system work actually does compound. So the better it gets, the better it gets.
Ah, okay. Yes, I can feel my body relaxing just thinking about that.
Yay!
So you can see your embodiment practices, which is what my focus is, helping primarily women come into their bodies. I know you're a dancer. I'm a dancer. So I teach women empowered dance. So that's one of the practices that lights me up and helps me, no matter what I'm going through, to come back into the present moment, come back into my body, right? Breathing. And then also I know that you are a student of Mama Gina, so the pleasure
Yes.
practices, right?
Yes.
So I think like those two, let's say for now, dancing and pleasure practices, we can see those if we're doing those on a daily basis. We can see that as an investment in our future, right?
Yes.
So we might not see a result today, but we can trust that if we are devoted to these practices of coming into our body and signaling to our nervous system that we are safe to change where our thermostat baseline is, that we will inevitably and eventually see the results that we've been hoping for, praying for. Yes.
Like what'll happen, this happened to me this summer.
Okay.
There was a situation where I had to have a really difficult conversation. 10 years ago, I couldn't have done it. I could not have had that conversation. I could not have said the honest things that I did.
Yeah.
And this summer, I got on the phone and I said, like, there was a level of honesty that I delivered with love and care. And it was a beautiful, healing conversation. And I got off the phone and I was like, I am a version of myself that I didn't even know was possible because I had that level of embodied safety from years of deposits.
Right.
And so you'll find yourself in the same scenario, behaving a completely healthy, like a completely healthier way that was not available to you before. And you don't, here's what I love about nervous system work and embodiment work in general, is that like, you don't have to try to be the healthier version. You don't have to like talk yourself into it or psych yourself up or like remember a script or say the thing. You just are it. And there's no resistance. It's amazing.
Yes, I thank you. That is so powerful. I am currently leading an alcohol-free 30-day challenge. And I have lived alcohol-free for 4.5 years. And what I know to be true for me is it doesn't feel like I'm trying hard to not drink alcohol. It feels like I've become a version of myself that doesn't feel like I need to reach for something that's going to numb, right? I have, and so that's what I was sharing with the group of women who are doing the challenge. Like it feels like you don't have to try hard or will through it, right? You become a version of yourself.
You become a version because our identities are literally embedded in our neural patterning. In our automatic response to stimulus, that is our identity. That is who we are. So when you change your neural patterning, your identity shifts. And you don't have to work to be that new person. You just are. And it's literally, you are it in your body.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because I can get down with pleasure every day. I can dance every day. So how do you go from being a financial avoider to let me look at it all, let me see it all, and let me do what I need to do to make the changes, and what kinds of changes can I make so that I can, kind of bring it all together and be the version of myself that is wealthy and prosperous and a steward of wealth. I love what you say so much. And on the days when I'm feeling really low or feeling really just insecure or financially fearful, my prayer is, like you say, let me be a steward of wealth as this conscious being, right? With this vision that I have, so that I have the resources to be able to bring what I am meant to bring into the world. Right. And you
Yes.
say that all the time, like more conscious people need to be wealthy because,
Yes.
right. So talk to me. Okay. I got carried away. Go back
No,
to
it's good. I
the,
mean, I totally want to go there too, but
okay.
specifically
Yes.
what we need to, so pleasure practices and dance
Yes.
so what we know is that repeated rhythmic movement
Mhm.
is very healing to the nervous system. It signals safety. So AKA dance.
Yes.
So like, we got four, yeah. And then pleasure, when we are activating our pleasure centers, we are naturally rewiring our nervous system, because if pleasure is present, now I will just say safety usually has to come before pleasure, but sometimes safety is embedded in the pleasure. And
Right.
so
Right.
it's like sort of inherent there. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Um,
A lot of it has to do with also your relationship with pleasure
yes.
and your body, right? Because we're all in a
It's a
different
little
place.
like there's a lot of layers there.
A lot of layers. Yes.
A lot of layers there.
Yes.
And so what I will say is that when it comes to doing something where we're avoidant, like checking our bank account balance or creating a spending plan or figuring out how much it takes for us to live in a given month. Like, what are our monthly expenses on a personal level? What are our monthly expenses on a business level? What did we spend this past year on these various categories? What did we earn this year from these various categories? Like, what might it take for us to be work optional at a particular time in our life, which is what my financial planner, Caitlin Carlson, calls retirement, which I like way, way, way better, being work optional.
I love that.
So like all of that stuff I just said is just math, right? Like that's just math.
Yes.
Very simple. However, our nervous system goes into a whole thing about like lack and scarcity, and I've been bad, and judgment, and there's not going to be enough, and am I worthy? And I mean, right?
Yeah.
And so what we can do is we can use titration, which is slow, doable parts, slow, doable steps over time. So I love to recommend to people that they actually combine a nervous system healing drill with taking one small financial action step. So one of my favorite nervous system healing drills is called, I don't know what other people call it. I call it the washing machine. And so it's a very simple one where you stand, and for those, I don't know if you publish your video, but I'll describe it audio as well.
Yes.
So you stand just basically with your hips, with your feet hip distance apart, with your arms at your sides, and then you just swish your arms around and let them fall. Like let your arms just twist as you're twisting your torso. Let your arms go, and one will wrap front, one will wrap back, and you just kind of do that a bunch of times while you breathe. Now that is signaling, you might even have heard, for those who are just on audio, you might even have heard that the tone of my voice changed while I was doing this. It's also becoming slightly harder for me to talk, because what's happening when we do that stuff, now I've stopped so I can articulate myself. What's happening when we go into a nervous system healing drill is we are signaling to our body, you are safe. And you are actually rewiring and putting and you're activating different parts of your brain. And so what happens is now when you've done that, and again, it compounds over time, I then just opened up even 5% more energetic capacity, like the energy, meaning I have the willingness to do it. I have the capability to do it. I have the ability to focus. I have the enthusiasm, right? Like I just opened up 5% more ability to go do something I didn't previously feel like I wanted to do. like go look at my bank account balance or go take another round at my spending plan. So we can actually learn to use our body to open up the capacity to do the thing that previously felt too scary or too hard or too complicated. And then when you come at it with more capacity because you've just signaled safety to your nervous system and metabolized some historical previous stress and then opened up. So you're currently more in a rest and digest state. It's just like, oh, I thought this was terrifying, like a bear was going to eat me. Turns out it's just a spreadsheet.
It's just a
Like
spreadsheet.
I'm totally safe right now.
Yeah.
And I can do this. When we do that, the truth is money loves clarity. Clarity is magnetic. Clarity is powerful. The more clear we become, the more magnetic we become to money. Avoidance is repulsive to money. Vagueness is repulsive to money. Clarity is magnetic. So we do nervous system healing tools to increase our capacity to look at things with our eyes open and get clarity, which makes us more magnetic to money.
That, I don't think I've ever heard it said in that way. That is brilliant. I mean, that motivates me to want to do the right, like, oh yeah, I want to be more clear, because if I stay in avoidance and being vague about it, I'm repelling the thing that I want.
Yes.
Right. I also
and your nervous system wants you to. Not to say that I don't want to put it in an adversarial, but like your nervous system is like a scared little kid. And it's like, I have memories in my body of money being associated with pain or grief or drama or a loss of love or whatever. It's like, oh, I don't want to look at the money. And then your adult self is like, hey, sweet thing, actually, you're safe. It's just a spreadsheet. And then your little child self that's stuck in your nervous system is like, oh, okay, thanks. I can do this.
Yeah. You literally just described. So I wrote and performed a one-woman show last year, and ego and soul were the main character, like the narrating characters. And then I had my inner child there. But ego was like, yo, listen, Amber, you're like, you better watch out. You're going to, like, that's right. I'm here to protect you and keep you safe. And then soul was like, Amber dear, you're fine. And so that's exactly like, not to demonize ego, but just to kind of, make it like, yeah, that role is to keep us safe.
Yes.
And the other role is to say, you're okay. The other thing I want to say, because I've heard you say this, and I think it's really powerful. There's this whole concept of, right, like, step outside your comfort zone and push through the boundaries. And what you say is,
do it scared.
Actually get safe first. Feel safe first, then take the action. And so what you just described is like, it's the perfect, like, here you go. Do the washing machine or put on some music and dance or I've heard you talk about,
the havening,
the touching, just tickle the arm or the hand, right? Do that first, and then do the thing that you have been afraid to do in that more relaxed state.
Yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
We are not going to get relaxation as a result of an external thing changing in our life. Relaxation is actually the way to shift the external world. And I also just do want to clarify too, like a regulated, healthy nervous system does not mean you're relaxed all the time, right? Like we upregulate, we downregulate. It's totally normal. It's totally healthy. But regulation, a healthy nervous system is about our ability to be at choice, meaning we are responding to the stimulus of life with our consciousness, with our heart, with our compassion, with our full faculties. We're not reacting out of past unconscious conditioned patterning. So really, like, same thing with money, right? Like if we want to negotiate for higher pay or raise our rates or make a strong pitch, we need to be in our full presence and our full magnetism, as opposed to running all the old stories with money, which diminishes our power in the moment. And it diminishes the likelihood that the decision maker is going to say yes.
Right.
Actually, 90% of communication is nonverbal. Only 10% is the words that we say. So we're reading each other's bodies. We're reading each other's energy. And if you don't feel safe with money, whoever is on the other side of the transaction will not feel safe investing in you. But if you learn to feel safe with money in your body, the other person on the other side of the transaction will feel compelled and magnetized, because that money also knows that it is safe with you.
Mm. God, this is so helpful. It's so, so helpful. And it's so um, easy to comprehend. It's like, oh, okay, I can do that. I can do these practices, these embodiment practices, and then I can do the one thing
Yeah,
today.
the one thing. Yeah.
Today, right?
Today.
I don't, because if I get into next month, forget about it, right? So
Too much.
this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to do today, and it'll be fine. Okay, so you just kind of said the perfect segue to go into the conversation about more conscious people having more wealth and being stewards of money.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Because the money feels safe, right?
so the money feels safe.
Yeah.
We live in a world where money is a form of power. It's not the only form of power, but money is one way that we can make a positive impact in the world. And money is a way that we can make a negative impact in the world. Money is actually a neutral resource, just like fertilizer in your garden. If you have basil plants and tomato plants and some mint, and you put fertilizer on the garden bed, those plants will grow. But if you also have weeds and you fertilize those, the weeds will also grow. Fertilizer doesn't care. It's just fertilizing. Money is fertilizer. It does not care. It's neutral. It just, whatever it falls upon, it enhances. So if money is in the hands of folks who are not conscious, who are acting out of their traumas, money is going to enhance their power to do so. And then if money is in the hands of people who are doing their healing work, who are compassionate, who are conscious, it is going to enhance their ability to bring more of that energy into the world as well. And so my kind of big why is really that we need more money in the hands of people who are on the healing path, who are conscious about community. And what we don't have the data about like conscious people and money, but we do have the data about women and money. And what we do know is that when women have money, they are actually better investors. They get a better return, statistically speaking, than men. We also know that women are way more generous with charity and philanthropic work, percentage-wise of their wealth. And we also know that when women have enough resources, financially and otherwise, they automatically make sure everyone in the community gets what they need. So when countries invest in women and girls, automatically education increases, health outcomes increase, addiction decreases, overall development improves. So we know that when we give women money, everyone gets what they need. And so my mission is, let's get women feeling super financially confident, super financially relaxed, and super financially empowered and resourced, because when women are the conduit of wealth, everyone else's needs including the planets, tend to get handled.
Amen. Amen. Okay. I love this conversation so deeply. And this brings me to my next topic that I really was excited to talk to you about. I listened to your podcast with Sarah Jenks, and it was phenomenal and so deeply resonant with everything that is coming up for me and why I feel like I'm here, my why, right? So you talk about your why and women with money. Your conversation with Sarah talked a lot about, right, like history and women's relationship with money because of history, because of patriarchal, right? So we as women, we have the opportunity to shift that, to change that, to heal that, so that my daughter, right, and my son, I have a daughter who is 11, and I have a son who just turned 10 yesterday. My prayer is, I see what my Nana went through, right? I see what feeling like she was financially dependent on someone else, without her own resources, without her own ability to find resources, have resources. In fact, when I was writing my book, I did not even know this, that women weren't able to apply for a credit card until 1974, which is the year of my birth. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. This makes a lot of sense of the what I was born into, the energy that I was born into, and what, my ancestors experienced, and what I'm here to shift and to change so that my daughter grows up feeling so empowered and like anything's possible. Like, that's also my deep why. When I feel like I just want to give up and I'm tired and I'm stressed and I'm like, I will not, because she is watching me, he is watching me, right?
Yes,
Can
totally.
you talk a little bit about that? And I know you have, feelings
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I do. I personally have two daughters. They're 6 and 9. And I think this piece, just kind of like greater context, by the year 2044, it is expected that $30 trillion, it could be billion. Oh, see, now I need to know it off that. Now I want to I'm like, can I phone a friend? It's like, I literally Googled this morning because I was doing some research for a book proposal.
Ooh,
Anyway,
a
a
lot,
huge amount of money.
a lot.
You can do a quick search on the Great Wealth Transfer.
Okay.
But there is a tremendous amount of wealth that is being moved into the younger generations of women because of baby boomers, making that transfer as they age out. And this is going to be a wealth transfer that is unprecedented, and it is impacting women more than men because women outlive men, and also because more women now are available to receive this and are their family's chief financial officer in higher percentages, more and more single women and more winning women. So it is this unprecedented time. And I think about okay, just what we were talking about before, how important it is for us to be building in that financial confidence, because another study showed that out of women making $250,000 or more, over 75% of them feel financially not confident, feel
Wow.
still financially anxious.
Wow.
Still like it's not enough. And that's really scary, right? And
Yes.
so, as mothers, as leaders, as business women, we have to really know that this matters. Historically, we are changing lineage. We are unraveling patterns that have existed for thousands of years with the systematic, very much on purpose removal of women's power, specifically through removal of financial power.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of years ago, women absolutely had resources. In fact, it was the spiritual women, the priestesses of communities that held the wealth.
Yeah.
And because women were able to bring life and also were the spiritual leaders of communities, and also in some cases were the wealth holders, that began to be seen as a threat. And, and then came years and years of patriarchy. So we kind of like know what happened there. And if you do want to listen, go listen to my Plenty episode with Sarah Jenks that goes through the history.
It's so good.
But I am just so bolstered by the fact that, like, yeah, 1974, women in the United States couldn't get a credit card or any kind of loan in their name. My granny had to take out a line of credit with her son as a co-signer when her husband died. Like, hello, that's ridiculous. She freaking raised him.
Right.
And so in terms of all recorded history and historical time, 1974 was like 2 seconds ago. So
I know.
I veer more on the side of like, oh, this is like awful that this happened for 3,000 years, and we're doing great. Like the timeline from that time to now is like 2 seconds. And when I think about how different even my girls are going to perceive wealth than what I perceived, so much happens in one generation when someone like you steps up and is like, I'm the generation updater. Now, if we stay asleep, the lineage never gets updated. But there's enough people now waking up to say it ends with me, that we are seeing rapid evolution. And I'm just so excited to be alive at this time to witness it and be part of it.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting. It really is exciting. And women like you and Sarah and Kathy Heller and Tracy Litt and these women that I, am just so inspired by and really motivated.
Women like you.
And women like me. Yes. Thank you. I am a part of it. Yes.
Yes.
I've answered the call. I've said yes
Yes.
to the call. I show up every day. I'm like, okay, I've said yes to the call. Here we go. What are we doing today? And, yeah, in fact, I taught my dance class this morning, and, some women come and they just come to dance. And some other women, know other things that I'm up to. But when I'm teaching them, I'm like, there's so much more transmission happening than,
Yes.
just.
And like we said, because 90% of communication is nonverbal, their bodies are receiving that energetic transmission, whether their intellect ever knows it or not.
Exactly. Oh, so good. Okay. Well, I want to honor your time, but I do want you to share, you have so many amazing offerings for people to join, and just tell us where can people find you? What can they sign up for? You've got a new book. Did you say you're writing a new book?
Yeah, and we're just working on the proposal.
Okay,
So it's going to be a minute, but I'm really excited about it. So yeah, Instagram is a great place to come find me, at Kate Northrup. If you want kind of my best nervous system healing tool for money, you can just send me a DM that only says the word wisdom, and my little bot assistant will send you a free practice and a beautiful guide about creating money breakthroughs on an embodied level. And then my podcast, Plenty, is a wonderful place to connect. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you're a podcast person. And I send my most personal things through email, actually, believe it or not. I have the greatest emails. I know some people are like, what? But they really are. So you can go over to katenorthrup.com and sign up there to get my weekly dispatch, where I give you my best tips and stories and insights for abundance.
So good. I will make sure that all of that information is in the show notes. And I just want to say, from my heart, you first of all, I love your laugh. I listen to you, and you are so accessible and warm and inviting. And of course, I was a little nervous today, but there's nothing about you that is intimidating. I mean, you're so real. And you you tell your stories, you share your life with us, right? When you talked about your husband being sick and you know, everything that you were going through, and you're, I mean, you're so willing to invite us in to see all of you. And you're also the expert badass, like, leader, right? And I really, really appreciate that about your personality in general. Like, I feel like if I met you in person, I would just want to like hug you. I would be like,
Please
I
do.
I
I love
know.
hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your laugh, your giggle, it's just so wonderful. And I already have fallen in love with you before I even came on today. And today I feel even more so enamored by you and appreciative of everything that you're doing, and that you have said yes to your greater why. And it's been an absolute honor to be in this conversation with you. I feel empowered, I feel inspired, and I'm so excited to share this conversation with everyone who will listen.
Oh, thank you, Amber. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And I will make sure to put all of Kate's information in the show notes. So be sure to go check her out on Instagram and her website, and get on her email list, because yes, they are beautiful, amazing emails. And until next time, my friends, stay well.